ordinary products and services to make fire work for you.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 92. Tonight, showers and storms with a low around 63. And Wednesday, more storms with a high near 68. One of comedy's most dynamic performers is coming to the Twin Cities. Jessica Kierson takes the stage at the Uptown Theater on Sunday, November 23rd at 8 p.m. With her bold humor and electric presence, it's a show you don't want to miss. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk on your morning drive. Welcome to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk show in the United States. I am your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, in studio with me.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. In the control room, Patrick Lilia. Hey, Patrick.
Good afternoon, everybody.
I have to say, Patrick, I just have to give you a shout out on the air. I have yet to throw you a curveball production-wise that you haven't been able to knock out of the park.
Yeah, don't jinx us now. And we've tried. We've really tried our best.
I was just in the before the show started. I'm like, Patrick is just right there.
Yep.
Like every time I need something, it's like a boom.
Yep.
It's really great. So thank you, Patrick, for all you're doing.
Thank you for your kind words. It's great to be part of the team helping you guys out every day.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. It takes a village to keep the Gailey Show on the air.
Yeah.
If you're listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, we can take your calls at 952-946-6205. What is on the show today? Amy Hewitt, director of the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota, will join us in the second half hour to discuss looming funding cuts from the Trump administration to the Institute. And for context, for 40 years, the Institute has led research and policy development for people with intellectual or developmental disabilities, like in the country. We'll talk to Amy about that in the second half hour. LGBTQ philanthropic giving is taking an alarming dive in a recent report for funders from LGBTQ Issues. We're going to talk about that later in the show. In shocking, absolutely bonkers, no one ever expected this economic news, tariffs raise prices? Why didn't anyone say anything about inflation and how tariffs lead to that?
I think it's the deep state.
Mm-hmm. That in a moment. But up first, I'm going to do this now to get it out of the way because Jim and I are of two minds on this. You can see him rubbing his hands together. The Epstein files. Okay, I don't understand what the story here is, except for I guess it's fun to watch them like eat each other alive in the media. Wow. But like to me, here's my side of it, and then Jim, you can have your side of it.
Thank you.
Political opportunist creates conspiracy theories to win election. Now supporters want those conspiracy theories to be true, but the political opportunist doesn't need the conspiracy theory anymore, so he just wants it to go away. And now the Democrats are asking for the files to be released, but the files aren't going to show what the Democrats want, and so we're just all being sucked into this conspiracy theory that I'm baffled. I'm baffled by how we're all being sucked into it and no one's like hitting the brakes on it. Jim, your thoughts?
I think you're being very literal, and I think you're being very journalistic, which is objective and cold and, and facts. What are the facts? What are the real facts? Are there any facts? Those are all really excellent questions.
That's the only questions to be asking.
But in a tabloid world created by Rupert Murdoch and others, and by this fool in the White House, now everybody's dealing in who's got Martians on their front lawn. And this is what is interesting to a country that ranks 26th in terms of literacy. They find it interesting to think that Hillary Clinton's doing something in a pizza parlor. That is literally the level of discourse we're at. Now, what's interesting here is that the people in the administration, put him aside, Patel, Bondi, a lot of these people have implied that there's this big report, that there's all this data. She's saying there's so much information to go through, and all these
conspiracy theory. Yes.
Yeah. So they've encouraged it. put him aside. He
Yes.
used conspiracies to get elected.
Yes.
They've encouraged the idea that there is something
Yes.
really big here, and she's got the file on her desk, and she's gonna.
But it doesn't exist.
Well, but they've bred these stupid people to show up like a flock of lemmings when they're told and jump off the cliff.
I'm not
and they're
just-
like, "Where's the cliff? You told us to jump off the cliff, and there's no cliff here." So they have a problem. I think there is a report. I think there are a lot of people implicated. I think there are Democrats implicated, and that nobody wants this to come out. Nobody in the establishment wants this to come out.
See, that sounds so bonkers.
Well,
now the people on the liberals and the left are all demanding this report because they're thinking that Trump's going to be on it. Trump might not be on it. Yeah, there's a lot of photographic proof that he palled around with Epstein, that he was flying around. Like, we know all of that.
So did Bill
But for
Clinton.
this to be true, that would mean that after 4 years, because he was arrested during the first Trump administration, Epstein. So that would mean for 4 years, the Biden administration and Merrick Garland sat on damning information about Trump that he broke the law,
and others.
and they decided to sit on it and not do anything with it.
And even if it's not true, you and I have said this before. How have we gotten through 6 months, and how do we get through another 3.5 years? This is how we get through another 3.5 years, because these rabid gun-toting morons will go after this guy or anybody else that they think is deceiving them in the chicken coop. This will consume them. They will eat each other.
Mean that they're now going to come running over to vote for the Democratic Party. Like this fever dream that certain Democrats are like, oh, we can now recruit Elon Musk to be part of the party because he's having a fight with Donald Trump. It's like, are you kidding me right now?
They're beneath contempt. We're not trying to recruit anybody. We're trying to get them to doubt themselves, get into a barrel, and start shooting each other. That, I mean, figuratively, not literally, but to consume themselves. That's what they do. They're a mob. They're a rabid mob. They're not well informed. They're not intelligent. And these people in the establishment of this administration have used them horribly, abused them, and now, and I've been saying this for over a year, they're going to turn on you when they figure out what you've done to them. And this is, I admit, I don't really care who's on the report. I think they should all go down if there's a bunch of people on the report. I don't care if it's Bill Clinton or anybody else. I don't care who it is. But if it keeps them busy for 3.5 years, Steve Bannon said, you're going to lose 10% of MAGA. He's warning Dumbbell. You're going to lose 10% of MAGA. He's already lost 10% of people that have hated him just since the election. So he's going to lose another 10% of MAGA, according to Steve Bannon. So that's fine. Let them destroy themselves. This is what I was expecting in 2017. So I'm surprised it's taken this long, but I will take it. I will ride this horse all the way till the 2026 elections.
Again, if it turns out that the Biden administration and Attorney General Garland had this list, had this evidence, had the video, and they didn't do anything with it and they buried it, that is going to be so... that to me will be like, what was going on there? So I guess for me, I'm like, I don't want Democrats or progressives or center-left folks to now start going, yes, release the, like I heard a clip, audio clip of Speaker, House Minority Leader Jeffries saying, they made this, so release the list. There's not going to be what we think is going to be on the list. And now we're going to have Democrats and people on the left demanding to see a list that's got Trump implicated in it. And if I would assume that if that existed, former President Biden, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, would have been like, release the stupid thing. Prosecute.
That the easy answer there, which you're not hearing, is that there could be Democrats on it. And he would say, oh, well, there's no point in dragging everybody through that. Let's just let that all go. So
I disagree.
Either way,
Democrats prosecute Democrats.
Either way, and you're legitimately correct. We are in an illegitimate, crazy world. So you're still thinking rationally, like people have got their heads screwed on straight. They don't. So what we should do is take advantage of this and make the boat spin in a circle for 3.5 years, trying to figure out who's in the chicken restaurant, and let them do that. That's fantastic. That we've been looking for something to put them on their heels, and they've done this to themselves. And Patel is going to resign, and Bondi's going to lose her job, and their administration is going to go into the crapper very quickly if they're not careful. And that's news. That's music to my ears.
We have real issues to be dealing with.
I
and
agree.
Instead, we're all going to sit here on the left and on the right talking about a conspiracy theory is just utter BS.
You don't like that.
We have so much to get them on from the big ugly bill. We have so much. We're going to talk about inflation here. We have so much to be getting them on and holding their feet to the fire and calling them out and being accountable for and say, look, folks, these are the major issues that we're dealing up. Inflation is going up. And yet you all are sitting here talking about a conspiracy theory?
And you're talking to a person living in a rural area who doesn't know that there's a huge piano about to drop on their head. And you telling them about the inflation rate, they're not going to get it. They get this.
Yeah,
and one thing that Trump did brilliantly is he used these people's stupidity against them. He used them brilliantly, as any con artist does. And so now he got trapped in his own con. It's the Music Man. He's gotten trapped in his own lie. And now they're saying, oh, maybe that guy talks too clever.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. This is such BS of a story. They're not going to impeach him. They're not going to remove him. They're still going to vote for him. This is such a non-story that we're all being suckered into. It's fine if you want to have glee about someone losing their job, or if you want to, eat the popcorn watching them all, fight with each other. I guess, yeah, sure. But this isn't going to get us out of the situation that we are in, and everybody being sucked into this insanity is just driving me absolutely bonkers. Yeah. I want to, before we get to the break, that's all I have to say about this. So tariffs, apparently they raise inflation.
What?
I know, right? So AP reporting that President Trump's sweeping tariffs are pushing up the cost of a range of goods, including furniture, clothing, and large appliances, and that consumer prices rose 2.7% in June compared to a year earlier. They're 2.7% higher. This is following off of an increase also in May of this year. He said that he was going to lower costs. He was going to lower the prices of eggs, right? Everybody had to vote for MAGA because the egg prices are so high.
And I do think Mexico paid for that wall, didn't they?
We're paying for that in the big ugly bill.
All
the money in the big ugly bill is you're not going to, literally, folks are not going to have food on the table because they're losing SNAP benefits to pay for a GD wall.
Right. Yeah.
Hang on. There's more I want to get to about the inflation story. We're going to cover that when we come back from this break. For more progressive news and analysis, head to am950radio.com and heartlandsignal.com. You are listening to The Daily Show on AM950 Radio and WCPT 820.
For a decade, it's captivated Twin Cities audiences, and now the cultural phenomenon Glen Sheen returns. This captivating musical by Jeffrey Hatcher and Chan Poling features strong performances from a talented 7-member ensemble and Ron Peluso's brilliant direction. It's a limited engagement July 7th through the 25th at the History Theater in downtown St. Paul. Get tickets at historytheater.com. That's History Theater, spelled R-E.com.
Summer is going fast, but Next Chapter Booksellers has everything you need to keep up with your summer reading. From the hottest new titles to timeless classics, Next Chapter Booksellers has something for any taste. Their friendly staff are great at making recommendations for the perfect summer read for you or your loved ones. Plus, Next Chapter Booksellers has a wide variety of puzzles and games for those rainy days. So keep up with your summer reading at Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker. We're already coming up on the bottom of the hour. My blue sky is, going off here. Apparently, Governor Gavin Newsom is now going on podcast saying that he's changing his mind about gender-affirming care for trans youth.
Oh.
This guy is done.
Well,
done.
We can all learn and get better.
Done.
Okay.
I will actively campaign.
No, don't say that.
I mean, anybody who's throwing us under the bus now.
Don't say that.
I just have no time for it. Speaking of having concerns, what's happening? There is a new report out from the funders for LGBTQ issues. They were taking a look at philanthropy. Now, there's a lot of data that comes in about foundations and giving, and so they're only able to releasing a report from 2023 now in 2025 because there's just so much data to look at. But my jaw literally dropped when we got this year's report looking at 2023 data that overall funding from 2022 to 2023 dropped by 22%. In 2023, only 20 cents of every $100 awarded by U.S. foundations went to LGBTQ communities. Mm-hmm. Funding for transgender, nonconforming, and non-binary communities fell by 24%. Funding for Black LGBTQ communities fell by 41%. There was a decrease in giving from the top 20 foundations, 24% reduction in spending from them. Private foundations accounting for the largest percentage of domestic LGBTQ grant making in 2023. I also did not know that the region of the U.S. with the largest population of LGBTQ adults was the Southeast. And for the first time since 2018, the Southeast region was awarded the highest amount of funding, $36 million, which was actually a 27% increase from 2022. And I wanted to know, okay, well, what is the Southeast region? So the Williams Institute at UCLA, who are basically the data gurus for the queer community, they define the region as from Texas to Florida and then up to like Delaware, Kentucky, West Virginia, and DC, that massive region. Now, when you add DC in there's a huge population of queer folks in there, but it just, the part of the country that has the worst, most draconian anti-LGBTQ laws in the
Yes.
country is also the region
Yeah.
that has the most LGBTQ folks. So I guess there was good news in the report that in 2023 there was an increase to the particular region,
Yeah.
but overall to see a 22% reduction in funding. And we already know from 2025 how corporations have been defunding Pride.
Oh, yeah.
They've pulled back their donations to prides across the country.
Fairweather Friends.
Fairweather Friends. They're also pulling back on DEI initiatives affecting all sorts of marginalized communities, not just the LGBTQ community. And so I'm very worried about what the report will look like for 2025 numbers. The authors of the report, so it was produced by the funders for LGBTQ Issues. The authors were Alyssa Lawther, Sammy Luffy, and Samjin Fraser. They noted that this was in 2023 under the Biden-Harris administration, which they were making the case could be considered one of the most pro-LGBTQ administrations in history. And yet we saw this shocking reduction.
If you're shocked now.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, is that in 2027, when we get this year's data, the 2025 data, that we're going to see a huge cut
I imagine
there as well.
half of it will be gone. I mean, something on that, will it be a third? I don't know. But it's going to be more significant than 22% because now they have the cover of somebody that says, oh, you shouldn't be nice to any of these people. And they're like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore. And they're revealing themselves to be terrible.
But we're already seeing the impacts of it. I mean, we were reporting earlier in the year about HRC having lower donations. They did a huge staff cut.
Yep.
The Trevor Project, low on donations. They had to do a massive restructuring and staff cut as well. So we're already seeing our national organizations being impacted.
Yep.
Next year we'll get the 2024 numbers, but this is just very, shocking. On top of, we had reporting from Aaron in the Morning, excellent outlet. Go and follow Aaron's Substack, sign up for that. That the Stonewall Memorial, they had begun removing the B from LGBT. Right. So first they removed trans history from the Stonewall Monument in New York City. And now they've removed the B, bisexual folks, so more bisexual erasure in there. So, and they had changed it to, instead of using the acronym, it was now gay and lesbian.
Yeah.
Was the term that they were using there. And so everybody that's like, oh, you're overreacting. It's not going to be a domino effect. Yeah, clearly it's going to be a domino effect.
Of course.
Clearly.
Right. But you can't remove history if we don't let them remove history. Do you know what I'm saying? Monuments are one thing, but we can keep talking about it. And we, like you and I, keep our pronouns on our signatures and our email. We're not going to go back to stupidity. We're going to stay in enlightenment. But
and now we're seeing, even as early as 2023, according to this report, that funding is significantly going down. We've already seen it happening with our national organizations. We're seeing it with prides this year. Now we have the federal government that's cutting grants and everything to a variety of institutions, including shutting down national suicide hotlines. I mean, financially,
well, we're going to have to make some priorities, and we're all going to have to donate what we can, and we're all going to have to realize there's nobody else that's going to take care of us. We have to take care of ourselves. Every single rainbow in the stripe we have to take care of, and we have to care about.
Now, in Minnesota, there was a dip in local funding after the Obergefell, but specifically not just Obergefell. When we shut down the amendment in the constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, we shut that down here, and then we approved it a few months later. We did see a downtick in funding. I think a lot of folks were like, oh, well, gay marriage is done. Let's go on to other issues, which had a huge impact on nonprofits that were doing daily, service work. So maybe there was that going on in 2023 where they're like, hey, this is a great administration. We're getting, these protections. We can shift our dollars to other areas, which yay. But as we're looking at now, all of these cuts happening left, right, and center.
Yep. Yes, it's going to be very bad, and some institutions aren't going to survive.
Demoralizing.
Yeah. So, but you just have to you have to survive. So you have to keep moving one tiny half step forward. That's all any of us can do.
Well, and again, good news out of this report that the Southeast region, for the first time since 2018, had the most amount of money awarded to them as a region in the United States, which is a good increase, 27% increase.
That's good.
And yeah, I did not know that, and it's very sad to me to now know today that the part of the country with the largest LGBTQ population is living under the worst laws, including Florida. It's just,
but I think we can
very, very a lot of work to do. Speaking of funding cuts, we're going to be talking with an excellent organization, the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. Amazing national resource. We're going to be talking to their director when we come back. Stay tuned. Another break. Lots to get to here on The Gailey Show.
This is Santita Jackson, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central.
Hi, Amy. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. We
Good.
are still live on YouTube, so we're still on the hot mic here. I'm John. I'm the host. It's great to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thanks for inviting
Jim.
me.
I'm the producer.
Hi, Jim. Good to meet you too.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking the time to be with us first. Second, on the right-hand side of your screen there, do you see a private chat icon?
I see studio chat with 4 people.
Chat. Okay. In there, I will put time cues for how much time is left in the break. So we don't just suddenly start and you're like, oh, we're starting now.
Okay.
Great. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. I assume you're going to ask me questions and we'll have a conversation.
We will. I'm very much looking forward to this. Thank you for taking the time. Okay, we can switch back over, Patrick.
There's Farmers Market by visiting NACD.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 92. Tonight, showers and storms with a low around 63. And Wednesday, more storms with a high near 68. Make it a night to remember at Crooner's Supper Club. Incredible live music, 4-star food, handcrafted drinks, and first-class service, all in the classic supper club setting. Don't miss out. Visit croonersmn.com to plan your perfect night out. That's croonersmn.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I am your host, John Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. Jim Pounds, my executive producer, joins me in studio. For over 40 years, the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota has been the state's only federally funded center that pushes the edge of inclusion through an intensive focus on policies and practices that affect children, youth and adults with disabilities, and those receiving educational supports. The Institute is a designated university center for excellence in developmental disabilities, part of a national network of similar programs in major universities and teaching hospitals across the country. Their federal funding makes up 70% of the center's budget, which is now at risk due to the Trump administration's potentially massive cuts to federal spending. Amy Hewitt, director of the Institute, has an extensive 30-plus year background in the field of intellectual and developmental disabilities, where she directs several federal and state research, evaluation, and demonstration projects in the areas of community long-term services and supports for children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism. She is also the author of the upcoming book, Community for All, Community Living and Participation for Individuals with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. Amy, welcome to The Gailey Show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for inviting me, John.
I also need to mention the Institute produces Boldly Challenging Ableism for AM 950 Radio. Boldly Challenging Ableism exposes ableism and dismantles myths that marginalize people with disabilities, hosted by Katrina Simons, Sundays at 2 p.m. and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Amy, can we start with the work of the Institute? Because you're a national resource and you do a lot of extensive work across many different fields. So can you give us an overview of the work that the Institute does?
I sure can. We are primarily a research institute and a training institute. So our biggest job is to make sure that we're trying to identify new things, create new solutions to problems that the community is experiencing, that individuals with disabilities and their families are experiencing, and to make sure that people who are trained in all different kinds of professions, whether that be a pediatric dentist or a social worker or a special educator, are trained to understand the needs of people with intellectual disabilities, but most importantly, what they can do to support individuals and their families to thrive in their homes, in their schools, in places where they work, and to be fully included in our communities. When our work first started, most people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, if they were not living with their family, they were in institutions. And over that 40 years, we've closed all institutions in Minnesota for people with intellectual disabilities. And I think nationally, we've gone from about 270,000 people, young children, all the way through older adults living in institutions. Today, there are about 14,000.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you unpack for us more the training that you do with medical providers?
I sure can. All of the training that we offer is interdisciplinary. So what that means is we have faculty who come from 15 different academic disciplines on our campus. We bring together people who are in graduate school. And a unique thing about our training program is we partner them with community practitioners and people with lived experience of having an intellectual or developmental disability or a family member. They spend almost 12 months together, learning together about best practices, about research, about trends, and effective ways in which they can support people to have great lives in their community.
Another big component that you do that you mentioned is the research. Can you tell our listeners the different types of research that you do, and even like the methodologies? Because sometimes people are like, "What?" They have one impression of what research is, and there's lots of different types of research that you all do. So can you share a little bit about that?
That's definitely true. And today we're hearing a lot about research, right? And researchers are being villainized in some ways on campuses inappropriately, in my opinion. But of course, I'm biased. I am a researcher and I'm proud of that. But our research from the very beginning has been community engaged. I always say that our laboratory, if you will, is the community and always has been. So we try to identify problems in the community that we're hearing from people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families, and we work to better understand those problems and demonstrate possible solutions for them. One unique thing about our center is that we're life course. So what that means is we have research projects that focus on babies who are coming right out of NICU units and hospitals, all the way to research projects trying to understand how to best prepare people and support people with intellectual disabilities as they prepare to die.
I hope
and
I'm not,
everything in between that.
No, yeah, I
Wow.
love. I didn't know about the life course part of that. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, and not to put you on the spot, but could you share some findings over the years that the Institute has given to us as a state and to a country that we didn't know about before?
Well, in one sentence, I would say if we look across all of our research, inclusion matters a lot. And it does not matter what environment that is. Our research around special education, we know children with and without disabilities have better outcomes when children with disabilities are included in classrooms. We know that people who live in their own homes in the community and are supported in their own homes have much better outcomes than people who are living in institutions or in congregate kinds of settings. So you could take any topic that we've researched over the years, and people feeling accepted, people being invited in, people having valued roles in the community, whether that's on a sports team or at a community recreation center. All of these are areas that we've done research in over the years, and it kind of comes down to that one basic things. Invite people in and help them belong, support them to belong.
I used to work in higher education in community colleges, and can you talk about what inclusion can look like on a college campus?
It's a great question, and actually I was just reading a grant opportunity today on inclusive higher education for students with intellectual disabilities specifically. We have two programs at ICI. One is a National Technical Assistance Center for students with all kinds of disabilities that are on college campuses. And then we also have a state technical assistance center that is trying to support higher education institutions in Minnesota to create inclusive programs. And inclusion on a college campus really means that students with disabilities, irrespective of the type of disability they have, are included in all aspects of college life. So it's not just academics, but it's also residential supports, housing supports, all of the extracurricular fun things that college students have the opportunity to participate in. Those are the kinds of supports that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities need too. Some campuses do it better than other campuses. The piece that is often forgotten and the supports that sometimes aren't there are those more social relationship types of supports. There's a lot of focus on academic accommodations, physical accommodations to get into places, but it goes much farther than that. That college experience is really about belonging, right? And finding yourself and figuring out who you are. And a lot of that has nothing to do with the academic program that you're in.
There has been a lot of talk, obviously, because of recent legislation that's going to be coming after Medicaid and SNAP benefits. As you're all, and as I'm learning, you're all doing that life course research. Can you talk a little bit about, because we also know about the silver tsunami, I think is what they call it, because there's a lot of folks that are now going to be, retiring and needing more access to like healthcare and nursing homes and whatnot. So what highlights or research findings have you found related to, older, I guess, Xers and boomers right now and their needs?
I think there's a few things that I would I would talk about in response to your question, I think the biggest thing is there's more need and there's less of a workforce. So people need individuals, staff to help support their needs if they're going to live in the community, if they're in an assisted living environment, or they're living in their own home and want supports to come into their own home, or if they're in a long-term care facility, there are staff that work in that industry. We've done research. It's my line of research, and I've been trying to study and find solutions to these challenges for 30 years. And a big part of it is the demographics that you talk about. As the baby boomers age, more people need services and supports, but the younger people who typically went into that profession, there are fewer of them. So there's a shortage. Not very many people really understand the role of these support professionals, and our society doesn't value them enough to pay them a living wage with adequate benefits and support professional development for their needs. So it's just a tsunami, really, of what is happening. I wrote a book a long time ago, and a report that talked about the year 2020 being a really pivotal year in the workforce. And that was before there was a pandemic. And so it did come true, but it was catapulted to much more significant seriousness because of the pandemic. And what people don't really understand, because we didn't talk about it. We heard a lot about nurses and healthcare people working in hospitals and their rates of death and illness from COVID. We didn't hear about this kind of silent workforce that nobody really talks about much in just everyday conversations. And that's the direct support professionals. You know, when COVID hit, they weren't even identified on lists as essential workers. All over the country, they were being stopped saying, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" Yeah. And then when they'd say, "Oh, I'm a direct support professional," people would be like, "What? Are you an essential worker?" Or they weren't getting the personal protective equipment like other workers were. So a lot of fighting just to prove their worth in this country and the important role that they play. So to me, that's one of the biggest implications, and one in which our institute has done a lot of work in trying to identify solutions that employers, whether those employers be individuals who are hiring their own support staff, or employers that run businesses and they're hiring people, lots of things can be done to retain this workforce and to celebrate this workforce. And we need to just do much, much more of it. When you start talking about Medicaid cuts, well, that's going to come off the backs of these workers too, right? They're going to have more responsibilities with less resource and limiting the rate at which their wages increase.
I have to fit in a quick break here. We're talking with Amy Hewitt, Director of the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota. I have a lot more questions for you, Amy, because this is a really amazing work. So we're going to take a quick break. Keep the conversation going. Follow us on Blue Sky. We're at thegaleyshow.org. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820.
Hey, it's Tom. There's a war being waged on clean energy. A bill in Congress could eliminate the 30% federal tax credit for solar by the end of 2025. And once it's gone, it may never come back. Fossil fuel giants and their MAGA friends in Washington want to kill green energy. But you can fight back. Going solar with all energy solar isn't just smart, it's a form of resistance. You choose where your money goes, not to utility companies, not to fossil fuel billionaires, but toward clean, renewable power for your home. A system from All Energy Solar works in Minnesota year-round because it runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the dead of winter, you're generating electricity. And All Energy Solar helps you save with every rebate and incentive available. This is the moment to act. Waiting means risking with this tax credit and giving the upper hand to MAGA Republicans. So get your free consultation today at allenergysolar.com and take back your power.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Chamblot from Chamblot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Chamblot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Chamblot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at chamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We're coming up on the top of the hour. For over 40 years, the Institute on Community Integration at the University of Minnesota has been the state's only federally funded center that pushes the edge of inclusion through an intensive focus on policies and practices that affect children, youth, and adults with disabilities and those receiving educational supports. We're talking with Amy Hewitt, director of the Institute. Amy, we laid out just so much, I'm sure only a partial amount of the amazing work that the Institute is doing and has been doing for the state and the country over the past 40 years. Can you talk to us a little bit about the risk now that the Institute is facing under the current administration when it comes to funding?
I sure can. I think that the words that I use are there's an assault on services and programs for people with disabilities. You can start with Medicaid, SNAP benefits. Those will disproportionately affect people with disabilities all over the country and will be extremely detrimental. And then you can look at smaller programs that don't get nearly the attention, like our centers, University Centers on Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And right now they are proposed for elimination. This is a network of centers across the nation. There's at least one in every state and United States territory. And we work collaboratively across the nation to make sure that policy in this country supports children, youth, adults with disabilities and their families, and to make sure that those are cost-effective services and that the outcomes of those services are positive for people. And right now, they are slated for elimination. And by federal law, we exist. There is a federal law in this country called the Developmental Disabilities Act. And that act requires us to exist, and yet we're likely to be eliminated if we cannot influence what is happening in Washington, D.C. So there are people like me all over the country trying to talk to anybody and everybody who will listen to get our elected officials to understand the importance of the work that we do at our center in Minnesota and the work that our entire network does across the country.
The legal situation, can you unpack that a little bit more for me? So there is a statute, a law saying that you should exist, but then are they trying to just zero out the budget, or are they actually trying to repeal that law?
They're not trying to repeal the law at all. There are several programs that are funded under the Developmental Disabilities Act. There are 3 sister centers in Minnesota that you may have heard of. The Minnesota Disability Law Center, they really focus on legal issues and laws in Minnesota related to intellectual and developmental disabilities. And there is also the Developmental Disabilities, the Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities, and they focus a lot on policy advocacy and teaching individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families to learn how to advocate and how to influence public policy. They do a lot of demonstration work. And then we're the research arm and the education arm of the DD Act. And for whatever reason, USEDS are the ones that have been identified for being on that elimination list. We can speculate why that is. My guess is the word university has influenced some of that. And then there are these also less known, talked about programs called Projects of National Significance. We've been very fortunate in Minnesota to have one that has been it's been funded for a very long time, almost our entire existence. We track the deinstitutionalization of where people with intellectual and developmental disabilities live in this country. There's also one that tracks employment, and there's one that tracks costs. So we have lots of outcome data of services to this population, and those are on the elimination list too. So those decades of our ability to monitor not only where people are living, if and where they're working, and how much all that costs will go away if these remain on the elimination list. And the challenge for me in that is, what's the logical reason for that? It's hard to figure out a logical reason when they're so cost effective. And it's important work to make sure that what we're spending our money on works and is good for people.
Well, and the population is so vulnerable. I mean, I see many examples where they seem to be targeting the most vulnerable people, you know, the people with the least amount of other alternatives or better alternatives. And so it's like going to the bottom and hurting the people at the bottom. I don't mean bottom, but you know what I mean? Just vulnerability in terms of bottom. And it seems so inhuman. I don't understand how to understand it. Intellectual is one thing, but emotionally, there's no way to understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Makes sense. The space between your heart and your head can't make sense of it.
Yeah, it's impossible to me.
Well put. What is the timeline in terms of the budgeting process that you're facing right now, Amy?
So the legislation was passed, the big bill was passed, and now we move into appropriations. So our understanding, and these timelines shift. So today, my understanding is the House Appropriations Committee work related to this funding will likely start around July 21 and likely conclude by July 26th. And then the Senate appropriations will happen sometime late August. So there's time to influence the appropriations by contacting elected officials and letting them know what you want them to do.
Thank you, Amy, for taking the time to talk with us today. I can't believe we're already at time here. You can connect with Amy and the Institute on Community Integration to help them and their work and to support them at ICI Also, listen to Boldly Challenging Ableism on AM 950 Radio Sundays at 2 p.m. and everywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time. Until then, keep it queer, America.
Queer.